Hype me up, hype me up. Yeah. All right, we back. We live and we going to court, child, and we are going to have a time today. Sounds like Diddy's RICO has been solidified by some testimony today. We will deep dive into it. But first, we got to let the algorithm do what it does. So if you are in the bushes or in the chat, please stay tuned, hang back, relax. If you're in the replay, go ahead and skip ahead about 6.5 minutes or so, and I'll meet you there. All right, y'all, I'll be right back. Coming with y'all in 2 seconds, more like 2 minutes, but hang tight.
Fake star with the way.
Told her meet me up in Midtown. She with the get down. She like how we get down. Been on this side. She ain't tryna switch now. She used some money moving, tryna make it flip now. She like, I choose you. This is it now. Told her meet me up in Midtown. She with the get down. She like how we get down. Been on this side. She ain't tryna switch now. She used some money moving, tryna make it flip now. She like, I choose you. This is it now. Told her meet me up in Midtown. She with the get down. She like how we get down. Look. Told her meet me at the condo where used to be the Momo. They used to believe in me, but they don't do it no more. I wish I was normal, it probably ease the pain. I feel like I'm Drake, cause this shit ain't been the same. Niggas switching lanes, how they switch up on the game. Talking shit about the gang, better watch the shit you saying. Niggas better watch their mouth, get it, better watch their mouth. You see all these bad bitches, I'm the one who brought them out. Now a friend trying to fuck, she's better word of mouth. She like, oh, you Corleone, you the one I heard about. I said, oh, your name's Simone, you the one who wants the cloud. Ever since I left the ground, I've been somewhere in the clouds. Niggas trying to blame me for the fact they ain't around. Why they always popping shit when they know I'm out of town? Why when I'm in their face, they don't ever make a sound? You say you gon' get us, well, little nigga, get us now. I'ma let them live. I'ma let them live. How much better can I get? The answer is a lot. I need a mention in the drop. I don't do it cause I need it, bitch. I do it for the spot. Told her meet me up in Midtown. She with the get down. She like how we get down. Been on this side. She ain't tryna switch now. She used some money moving, tryna make it flip now. She like, I choose you. This is it now. Told her meet me up in Midtown. She with the get down. She like how we get down. Been on this side. She ain't trying to switch now. She used to money move it, trying to make it flip now. She like, I choose you. This is it now. Told her meet me up in Midtown. She with the get down. She like how we get down. Been on this side. She ain't trying to switch now. She used to money move it, trying to make it flip now. She like, I choose you. This is it now. These niggas are typical, bitches are difficult. I'm the boss who I listen to. Depends who you talking to. Them niggas not with you. I get a bag when I'm walking through. And piss niggas off with the flow I got lately. Closest one to me, the main ones who hating. Want me to fall, guess they just gonna keep waiting. Don't call me at all if you weren't in the basement. Song after song, man, I told you we make it. You smile, the jewelry, I don't know what's fake. Don't waste no time on no time that we wasted. To spend time on women who always complaining. I got a new girl and that bitch my little baby. It's dope, it's alliance. This shit don't go crazy because you got it.
All right, we are back. We are back. Peace, world, peace. Welcome back to Goddess Dawn Speaks, aka the $1 trillion goddess baby, aka the Queen of Info. We are here. We're going to be going to court very shortly. I just want to bring in a couple things first. Seems like there was some commotion in court, and the guy who tweets us, the live tweets, also has some type of hiccup. So I have a backup over here just in case of an article that's pretty detailed, because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to keep up with these tweets the way they're laid out, but we will do our best. Now, according to the Washington Post, Wesley Parnell, who's also doing in-court reporting at 8:26 a.m. Eastern, they say it's a sunny, resplendent day in Lower Manhattan, and spectators are still lining up to witness the Sean Combs trial. Between media and public, both the courtroom and overflow room have been fairly full throughout the trial. There is an incentive to arrive early. Whoever gets here first is added to a list, and their spot is locked in for the day. The U.S. Marshal Service runs security in the courthouse, and getting in can feel akin to going through airport security. Just a little bit of insight from somebody who has to go through all the stuff every day. Now, before we get into this, I want to say hi to everybody in the chat. Warriors, chosen ones, thank you for your patience. Wow, Wayne, yes, as always. Yes, thank you for welcoming everyone. Please like, share, and subscribe. All right, who else we got here? Black Letter Law. Yo, Black Letter Law. Let me know she was on Law and Crime this morning, y'all. Doing big things as always. She's not new to it though, but she's getting back into the swing of things. Congrats to her. What's going on, Michelle? What's going on? Happy Tuesday, everybody. Thank you for the bells, Wang. And let me know my music could be heard. UK Faye, happy Tuesday. Yes. Hey, Shamina. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see ya. Baby Yoda, thank you for the bells, mommy. Woo! Yes. We are thankful to be here. I'm thankful, me and my tribe. I'm gonna say we're thankful to be here. We are thankful on this June 3rd, on this Tuesday, to be alive. Okay, let me just say that I don't take these breaths for granted, and neither should you. They're sacred breaths, a gift from God. We are here in this bubble together. Okay, so let's do the thing. Now, a little more from the article before we get into the court tweets. They say Sean Combs has entered the courtroom, and is for the first time wearing a new outfit. Okay. I guess he's been rotating the same outfits, but he's wearing a new outfit today. Yes, he is. So the judge ordered him to wear light neutral tones, but today he's wearing a copper sweater over a collared shirt, as is his habit. He hugged the members of his defense team before taking his normal place at the defense table. This morning, he seemed particularly animated, speaking at length with his attorney, Xavier Donaldson. While they're often small interactions, such moments are also revealing, as Combs has made it a habit during testimony to stay calm and stayed. Jurors will hear from a number of witnesses today, including Eddy Garcia, a security guard at the Intercontinental Hotel where Combs was caught on video assaulting Cassie Ventura in 2016. Prosecutors say a third anonymous victim, Jane, will testify by Thursday. Attorneys are currently discussing the video and watching it to determine whether the way it had been edited, which apparently shows Combs chasing after Ventura with no context, was prejudicial to Combs. So they're arguing this still. Surveillance of footage of Sean Diddy Combs attacking Cassie Ventura at the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016 has been shown several times at this trial. The government introduced it during opening statements, along with Israel Flores, a former security guard at the hotel who responded to the incident. The footage shown to jurors was the surveillance video taken from the hotel, which is not quite the same as the footage CNN obtained last year. The CNN footage was a cell phone recording of the hotel's surveillance footage. The government is expected to call a video expert Tuesday to explain the correct sequence of events. Combs' lawyers are highly opposed to showing the footage of the jurors again, which attorney Tenny Garagos is calling it unduly presidential. And now the government prosecutors just alerted the court about an individual who broke the pseudonym order for Mia. This person, the government said, was in the courthouse on Monday and used Mia's real name in the public square. The government was in the middle of saying it planned to tell the court's chief security officer about the person who violated the order. That person didn't appear in court today, but will be escorted out if court officials see them. When there was a loud disruption in the courtroom, someone began heckling Sean Combs, yelling out to the court. And actually, the picture of that is up on the screen. Let me put the a clearer picture up of the kerfuffle. So this woman stood up in the courthouse and said, Diddy, these MFers is laughing at you. And that person was escorted out of the room. There's no indication that it's the same person the guy disclosed Mia's identity. Just after the interruption, several reporters rushed out of the press room, including our own Wesley Parnell, to try to catch a glimpse of the disruptor. And you see they have the sketch of her on the screen. I'm going to show a quick clip of that, of reporting on that real quick, and then we'll get into the courtroom. Well, okay, yeah. Okay, let me pull that up real quick.
Can I ride? Can I slide? Can I roll? Can I go? Can I ride? Slide? Can I roll? Go? Can I ride? Slide? Can I roll? Can I go? Can I ride? Can I slide? Can I roll?
Okay, let me take this picture down.
Secret Service Sam here, just stepped out of the diddlation, the diddler, the court building, and do we have an exclusive for you guys. Everybody's always asking, Sam, was there drama in the courtroom? Does anybody ever get crazy? Today, yes. And I have my eyewitness here, guys, so I got to be careful when I say things that they are eyewitness accounts. To tell my good people, tell them your name.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nora Christine from the New Party Podcast.
That's right. That's right. And I have her on here now. Tell us what just happened inside the courtroom.
So I was sitting next to a lady, I believe by the name of I Am Candy.
Yeah, Candy. Shout out to Candy. She got a little crazy today.
She was nice to me, so I have nothing bad to say other than what she did. So when we got in the courtroom immediately, she was asking could she wear a head wrap. Unfortunately, they wouldn't let her.
Right. She said, but I want to wear my hat. She said it's for religious purposes. And this bailiff, he's like, I'm not going to tell you again. You don't wear the hat or you're out. And he like yelled. And we're like, oh, they don't play in federal court.
So then she looks at me and she goes, why can't I talk? It's, it's court. It's public. I said, ma'am, you need to be quiet. Like, they're not playing with you today.
Right. Yeah. Tell him. Keep going.
So then a few minutes later, she's like, I don't know why people are laughing. This is not a joke. They laughing at this black man. So I'm like, oh God, I'm just looking down. So then she starts writing like these words and I couldn't make it out. The next thing I know, she's like, oh, I gotta go. I gotta pack up. So she gets up, walks out, goes to the doors. I'm assuming that one of the female bailiffs was in the way. So she goes, bitch, get the F out my way. And the next thing I know, they're like, hey, you need to calm down. You need to leave. She's like, I'm going to leave. This is Diddy. They trying to get you. They trying to bring a black man down in this white supremacist system. And then they're like, ma'am, you need to calm down. She goes, what you going to do? Pull out the gun and shoot me? And then the next thing I know, 3 of them, like literally she's doubling down, not moving. 3 of them are dragging her out and she was gone. But still, nonetheless, yeah, that's
crazy Diddy courtroom drama. And I heard she said something like, Diddy, get the guns ready. Or like she was yelling at Diddy. The judge said, order in the court. You never hear Judge Subramanian get mad. This dude, he's a totally chill, young Indian guy. A lot of people don't know he's Indian. A lot of people think he's white. But he is so cool and chill. And he was like, order in the court. And so, guys, it was crazy. Shout out to Candy. She means well, but she had a hard time. And the funniest part is the courtroom painters. Actually, she's in she got in a courtroom drawing. They drew her ass in there getting kicked out. So I'm gonna try and talk to Candy later, get her eyewitness testimony. But I just want to let you guys know we just took a break. Big time drama. Make sure you follow. Tell them where they can follow you.
Hi everyone, you can follow.
Okay. Thanks for that report, Secret Service Sam. Now, back to the courtroom. So yesterday, Mia was on the stand. Then they also brought up this worker, a hotel worker, yesterday as well, who testified to some of the damage that the hotel had incurred and how the damage was paid for. They were linking that damage to bad boy businesses being paid by the bad boy businesses, which is a part of the RICO. And they were corroborating that by today as the CFO of Bad Boy Entertainment testified to some particulars about finances and how money was moved around and all of that. But before that, we have Eddy from the Intercontinental Hotel, Eddy Garcia, who's going to be testifying, and he is testifying to the security tape of the hotel beatdown and how that ended up missing. So we're going to talk about that. They say that Jane Doe is going to probably testify by Thursday. They say by Thursday, but yeah, let's get into things. Let's see. I guess I'll put a picture of Diddy up there. This is, I think, from yesterday and him looking at the text messages. And let's see how this goes here. Okay, so thank you as always to Matthew Russell Lee of Inner City Press for sharing his live tweets. Now he starts off by saying, okay, U.S. versus Sean Combs, day 15, Garcia with immunity, video fight, then Jane, Inner City Press covering the trial. So the courtroom deputy says, Marshals, can you bring the defendant out? Oh, I think Mr. Donaldson is in there holding in the holding cell with Mr. Combs. Combs is brought in. Judge Subramanian says, let's start with the compilation video. I got this letter. The judge asks, is Mr. Garcia competent to testify about this video given his position in the hotel security? Prosecutor Steiner says, I have not really asked him about that aspect. The judge says we're not using the correct cell phone video, so this could get in under the rules. Tenny Garrigo says the way the video is cut makes it appear that Mr. Combs came right after Miss Ventura, and she didn't. Must mean, and he did it. Steiner says, I'd like to address the timestamps on the security videos. They are routinely inaccurate. They're routinely inaccurate. The judge says defense concern could be allayed by inserting breaks in between the clips. Prosecution says since they will be testifying, it's hard for them to be editing the clips at the same time. We don't think it's misleading. The judge says the defense can cross-examine on this. Oh yeah, because they're going to have the video expert testify as well so that he can authenticate the video so the defense can't holler and scream or continue to, because they have been doing so. That is not fair that the video is being shown in the light that it is, sped up and different timestamps and whatnot. Okay. The judge says the defense can cross-examine. The prosecution says, given that the defense played the video of Mia's birthday video for Mr. Combs, we want to introduce recording of his jail calls about organizing social media celebration of his birthday, which he views as a way to change the narrative. There was someone broadcasting Mia's name just outside the courthouse in Foley Square yesterday. We'd asked, and then it's cut off because it says from the back of the courtroom, Diddy, they're coming after you. Those mother effers. Judge says court security officers escort that person out. So that's when the lady came in and disrupted the court. I want to go back to where they say the prosecution says they want to bring in social media or jail calls of his that he made since he's been arrested, organizing social media celebrations of his birthday. Because of the fact that they went ahead and played that birthday video, they fought to play that birthday video Mia put out. And now the government is using that to open the door to introducing jail calls about social media and celebrations of his birthday. So we'll see what the judge says about that. So I guess after the abrupt interruption, the judge is continuing saying that the video timestamps, how long is it? If 40 minutes, it would be a good 403 argument. Ignifilo says this could be an easy fix, but the witness on this will be on the stand in 2 hours. The judge says, where does he live? New York? They said Florida. So the judge says to bring in the jury. All rise. Jurors, this is from the judge. Jurors, there are some scheduling modifications, including that on June 11th, we will not start until 1 p.m. Also, June 5th from 11 to 4 and June 20th, the day after Juneteenth, will stop at 1 p.m. Call your next witness. The USA says the government calls Eddy Garcia. Okay, let me put Eddie's picture up. We getting into it now. The tea is about to pour. Black Letter Law says, I'm more impressed by the sketch artist. He or she did, I think it's a she, did a great job, great work to capture an event that took seconds. Right. Yeah, exactly. Let me show that real quick. That's a pretty good sketch of some action, right? The lady yelling with her head wrap on and 3 big old guards getting her out of there. Very good observation. All right, so we got Eddy Garcia on the stand. The government asked, where did you work on the day in question? Garcia says the Intercontinental Hotel. I was told there was an incident involving Sean Combs. Did you see him here? And then Still says, we stipulate, so Still would be doing cross. The government says, let me show you your sign-in sheet for that day. Garcia said, yes, I signed that. Week ending March 10th, 2016. Would you monitor all the cameras? He said, not at all, but more than one at a time. Would you be required to check the monitors? He said yes. Did you initially recognize the individual involved in this incident? He said not at first, but when I looked closer, yes, it was Mr. Sean Combs. And did you learn who the second individual was? Yes, Miss Cassie Ventura. Why was law enforcement not called? He said Miss Ventura did not request it. Did you interview the incident report? Did you review the incident report? He says, yes, there was an attachment that I didn't open on the computer, a video file. Did you receive a call? He said, yes. From who? Christina Coram with a New York area code. She asked if I had the video. What did she ask for? He said the video. She said Mr. Combs had been intoxicated and didn't remember exactly. Still objects, and the judge sustains. The USA asked for a sidebar. So they have their sidebar and they're back. Prosecution asked, what did you tell Ms. Coram? Garcia says that she would have to talk to management. Did she reach out again? He said, yes, I got a call from the lobby that she was there looking for me. What did she ask for? He said, the video. So she shows up. I'm interjecting this. So she shows up to his job in person when he didn't entertain her on the phone. How does she even know he was at work? That tells me somebody else was also giving information to her. Okay, back to court. They asked, what did she ask for? He said, the video. Prosecution said, how did you respond? Garcia said that she had to talk to management or file a subpoena. Did you tell her what you saw in the video? He said, yes, I told her off the record, it's bad. Did you get another call? He said, yes, from a New York area code. It was Miss Coram. She put someone else on the phone. Who? He said, Mr. Combs. He asked, do you know who I am? What did you say? I said, yes. He asked for the video, said he had been intoxicated. I told him I can't give the video. How did he sound? He was talking fast and stuttering. He sounded nervous. Did you email management? Yes. Bring up GX7R149. What is it? The email I sent. The still objects. The judge overrules. The email is shown as Coram's phone number on it, not redacted. It says, Combs, aka P. Diddy, says he is a patron and wants to talk to you. Government asked, did you get more calls from Ms. Coram? Yes, on my personal number. How did you react? He said, nervous. Ms. Coram passed the phone to Mr. Combs again. What did he say? That I sounded like a good guy, that he could help, that something like this could ruin him. He wanted the video. He said if it got out, it would ruin his career. Garcia said I didn't have access to the server. He told me he believed I could make it happen. He would take care of me. What did you think he meant? Money for the video. What did you do? Reached out to my supervisor about it. Who was your supervisor? Bill Madrano. He told me he would do it for 50. What do you think he meant? He gave the video for $50,000. What did you do? Called Christina, who put Mr. Combs on. He called me Eddy, my angel. Wow. Okay, hold on. Now, this is the part I was saying I might lose the thread. Give me a second. Yeah, people are saying something's happening. I can't get past this post. Okay, so he did a second part. Let me find that. Hold on, y'all. Okay, 1 second. This is crazy. The CFO is going to testify, and he knows all the business. Okay, I don't know. I don't know what happened with this, but we're just going to continue. It says U.S. versus Combs, day 15, part 2, restarted with limited replies so he had to restart. So we might have missed a couple things, but he said that submarine saying to bring the jury back out, all rise. I'm going to enter a stipulation into evidence. During a search at Miami Airport, law enforcement seized 2 cell phones from Christina Corum's person. Wow. Prosecution says publish that for the jury. It says 24 contacts, including Eddy My Angel and his phone number and Eddy My Angel friend Intercontinental. There was also a photo of IDs on the device. So the government says, so this is Ferguson on the stand. I need to get the rest of Eddy's testimony. Did we miss it? Hold on. Let me go over to the Washington Post real quick. A hotel security worker that Sean Combs, chief of staff, Christina Corum, came to the Intercontinental Hotel and asked to see surveillance footage on March 5th, 2016, shortly after Combs beat Cassie Ventura. The security worker, Eddy Garcia, said Corum first asked for the video in a phone call, and she was told she would need a subpoena. When the Combs executive arrived at the hotel lobby, Garcia testified she inquired again if there was a way she could see it so Combs staff could know what they were dealing with. Garcia said he apologized to Corum and insisted again that she need a subpoena, but gave her a brief description of the footage. It's bad. Sean Combs repeatedly tried to obtain the hotel footage of him beating his then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. Security officer Eddy Garcia testified and finally handed over tens of thousands of dollars for the damning video. Garcia said Combs first called him on the hotel security line after the beating and nervously told him he had a little too much to drink. He said Combs intimated that I knew how things were with women and that one thing leads to another. The next time, Garcia said Combs called his personal cell phone. He stated I sounded like a good guy and that I sounded like I wanted to help and like something like this would ruin him. Garcia told this to the jury. He repeated that I sounded like a good guy and I could help. Garcia said he initially told Combs that he did not have access to the video, but later reached back out and said his boss was willing to erase the footage for $50,000. He later testified that Combs paid a total of $100,000. And that's the part I think we missed in the actual tweets. But Eddy My Angel says in quotes, I knew you could help. I knew you could do it. And excited Combs replied, according to Garcia's testimony. The next day, he told the jury Mondrano, his supervisor, directed him to fudge the timestamps on his shift logs and go to a high rise in Los Angeles where he met with Combs. I wonder if they're bringing that Mondrano guy in too, but in quotes, it says he was smiling, excited, just looked happy. Said Garcia, who added that his own voice kept cracking with anxiety. He said he personally handed a thumb drive with the video to Combs and assured him it was the only copy. But he didn't know that his coworker or one of his bosses had videoed that thing on his cell phone, which is what ended up with CNN. It says when Eddy Garcia met with Sean Combs to sell him the surveillance footage of Combs beating Cassie Ventura, the security officer testified he told Combs he worried police would come looking for it if Ventura filed a police report. Combs said, I didn't have to worry about that. Garcia told the jury and then put him on the phone with a woman he understood to be Ventura. Garcia said he overheard Combs tell her, let him know that you want the video to go away too. Ventura told Garcia she had a movie coming out It wasn't a good time for this to come out, and she wanted it to go away, the guard said. After Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura told him they wanted the security footage kept quiet, hotel security Eddy Garcia testified he signed non-disclosure agreements averring that the video did not exist on any other servers and that he would not divulge any details from the deal. You cannot hide a crime with a non-disclosure agreement. I don't know how many times these people don't learn this. Garcia testified that Combs also had him send him text photos of his driver's, had him send text photos of his driver's license, as well as IDs for his boss and another security officer who responded to the incident, so that they were all on the same page. And that's a threatening act, in my opinion, to ask for a copy of somebody's driver's license as an assurance. It says, after Eddy Garcia gave Sean Combs a USB drive with the Intercontinental security footage and signed 2 contracts, he testified Combs stepped out of the room and returned with a money counting machine and a brown paper bag. Garcia said Combs pulled bills out of the bag, ran $100,000 through the counter, and handed it to him, warning him not to make any big purchases. Garcia, a guard at the hotel, testified he gave $50,000 of the money to his supervisor, who approved the deal with Combs, $20,000 to another guard involved in the incident, and kept $30,000 for himself to buy a used vehicle. A used vehicle at 30. Wow. So I wonder, so the other guard, I wonder, is that the one that testified that said he didn't take the bribe, or this must be a different guard altogether? Prosecutor asked Eddy Garcia why he was nervous around Combs while the 2 men allegedly struck a deal to sell Combs security footage of him beating Cassie Ventura. The hotel guard began to explain his fear of the hip-hop mogul before a sharp objection from the defense attorneys halted the line of questioning. Prosecutors are trying to provide the jury with evidence that supports racketeering charges, which involves making threats to extort individuals and companies. The imagery in this testimony is strong: paper bags filled with cash, bodyguards, money counters, bands of cash, and veiled threats. So then he's cross-examined. Let me see where these tweets are at, actually. Shamina, who ain't shit? Shamina said they ain't shit either. Nobody involved is. Thank you for the bells, Wild Wang. Okay, let me see. So okay, so no, this starts with Ferguson. So let me continue. So defense attorney Brian Steele is now cross-examining witness Eddy Garcia, a hotel security worker who testified that Combs paid him and his colleagues to obtain what he believed was the only copy of the footage showing the music producer, physically assaulting Cassie Ventura. Steele rose to fame, as we know, as a result of the high-profile and very drawn-out Young Thug racketeering trial in Georgia, and he was relatively late addition to Combs' defense team. He's the attorney we've heard from the most this week. Even though we're in the prosecution's phase of the trial, Steele delivered a strong cross-examination of the pseudonym witness, Mia, on Monday. Sean Combs leaned over the defense table and looked intently at a monitor on his lead counsel's desk while the prosecution and defense teams were in a sidebar discussion with the judge. The monitor contains a live transcript of the proceedings, including sidebars, which are drawn out by white noise so the rest of the court can't hear. So they show Janice Combs here and the boys. Let's see. Eddy Garcia's number was saved in the phone of Sean Combs' chief of staff, Christina Coram, misspelled as Eddie My Angel. Garcia, a hotel worker. So we know he says that they paid him $100,000, him and his colleagues. And repeatedly, Sean Combs called him his angel and told him God had put the two of them together. He got the nerve to bring God into it. But when Garcia asked Combs for help finding work after he handed over the video, he testified Combs did not respond to his Instagram message. So after the fact, this guy thinks that, oh, I'm in with Sean Combs now, I can ask him for a job. And he hit him up on Instagram. I think the time to ask would have been the time you were trying to negotiate this deal, sir. Wow. I think so. I think we're going to go into the next witness at this point. Yeah, you're right, Shamina. You are right about that. Hey, Karen Johnson, good to see you. Okay, let me switch this because he's going to be off the stand. Let me push Sean Combs back up as we go on to the next witness. So the judge says, bring our jury back out, all rise. The government says, I'm going to enter a stipulation into evidence. During a search at Miami airport, law enforcement seized 2 cell phones from Christina Combs' person. This is the prosecution. Published that for the jury. It says 24 contacts, including Eddy My Angel and his phone number, and Eddy My Angel friend Intercontinental, all in her phone that have been seized. There was also a photo of the IDs on the device. So all of that has been corroborated. All of his testimony has been corroborated by things found in Christina or KK's phone. All right. So it says the prosecution, we are also entering into evidence records from Signature Bank. The judge asks if there is any objection. The defense says no. With that, the government calls Derek Ferguson. How do you know Mr. Combs? He said worked for him 1998 to 2017. That's a long time. What was your role? CFO, Chief Finance Officer. How were your bonuses determined? He said company results and my performance. Were you responsible for managing Mr. Combs' personal finances? He said yes, at times during my tenure. Who was your supervisor? Sometimes to Mr. Combs himself. How often did you interact with Mr. Combs? A couple of times a week. Later, he became more of a chairman. How did you communicate with him? Back then, pagers. Who's this? They show a picture of Uncle Polly. Remember, Uncle Polly was security, and I believe this is the same guy. He was a security guy who was unalive. Like, I'm not sure if Diddy had been arrested yet or not, but he has started to speak out against Diddy and Jay-Z on his TikTok. He said some horrible things they've done, and I believe I remember him saying even unalivings. And next thing you know, he got sick and died, like just like that. Okay. So they asked, who is this? He said Paul. And they say, and these individuals, he said Roger Bonds and D-Rock, they were security. USA says, was Mr. Combs was Mr. Combs the sole owner? He says yes, 100% of Bad Boy Productions and films. What was his role? Creative and marketing. Did some ventures have partners? Ferguson said Bad Boy Records with Arista, also Warner. Sean John Clothing had a partner. What were the profits? Very profitable. How was Mr. Combs paid? Sometimes salary, sometimes distributions from the companies. What is a distribution? If solely owned or passed through like an S Corp, the owner determines to draw down. Did each have a bank account? He says yes. Could you sign on the accounts? He said yes. Which banks did the Combs companies use? Citibank, HSBC, and Signature Bank. What is this one? Janice Combs Music Inc. It furnished his name and likeness. Mr. Ferguson, are these your initials in section 4? Yes, it was 92909. Is this also a business checking account? He says yes. And this one? He said with Diageo about Ciroc. How was this account funded? He said inflows. What about credit cards? Primarily American Express, he says, expense reimbursements. Did Mr. Combs have an Amex? He says yes. Did he use it for personal as well as professional? He said yes. And the companies paid? He said yes. How was outgoing cash handled? He said we had a petty cash account and cash advances, for example, for those traveling who did not have American Express cards. When Mr. Combs was paid in cash, how did it work? He said we match it if a contract. Were you aware of Mr. Combs' security staff carrying cash for him? He said I was not aware of that. And when you were responsible for his personal finances, what did you do? He said budget for the year. Properties, inflows and outflows, he said. What properties did he own? The Hamptons, New York, Miami, they were held in LLCs for anonymity and liability reduction and tax benefits. Did you oversee other personal accounts of Mr. Combs? He said yes. Were you aware of him supporting other people? He said yes, from his personal earnings. The prosecution says, Your Honor, this might be a good place for us to take our break. The judge says, how much more with this witness? They say 20 minutes, we think, and Jane starting late tomorrow, we expect. 2 days for her cross-examination. So only Mr. Ferguson today? They say yes, and if Mr. Agnifilos's cross goes along, may we stay late? The judge says, okay. The judge calls for a break. I'm going to see over here real quick. Couple comments. Shamina says, Eddy may have asked for help with a job later, like a way after this happened. He probably did. I didn't know Uncle Polly died, Travis said. Yeah, go on TikTok and look him up. I think I have the video saved actually of him saying what he said too in my TikTok somewhere. All right. They're back from break but this is before the jury comes in. It says the Combs lease used lawyer, Jason Driscoll. He says the exhibit is full of hearsay. The judge says, I have the gist. Mr. Foster, are you saying none of this for the truth, he says, or the matter is asserted? Foster says, yes, this is not excludable hearsay. The judge says the objection is overruled. How are we doing on the compilation video? The defense says we still object. The judge says, but the compilation is put together? They say, yes, we would like some material to be taken down and other relief. The judge says, bring the witness back. And the witness enters, as does the jury. The prosecution asked Mr. Ferguson, before the break, we were discussing these bank records. What is 207 Anderson LLC? He said, Mr. Combs' property in Alpine, New Jersey. What is the mailing address? 1710 B-Way. These internal transfers. He said 190,000 and 575,000 and 100,000 in December 2011. Who decided whether to initiate an internal transfer? Usually the comptroller, he says. Do you remember these? He said no. And this outward transfer, whom did it go to? Cassie Ventura. For how much? $20,000. And this one coming in, he said Roderick Ventura, $20,000. So this is basically corroborating that $20,000 he had their Cassie's parents pay him to keep quiet about her and not to publish that S tape, and then him giving it back. It says how much, and it came back in. Let's see. Whom did this go to? Cassie. And then it coming back in, it says Roger Ventura. Okay, so the prosecution says, when did you leave the CFO position? He said the end of 2012, then Chief Growth Officer at Revolt Media and TV. After you left, how often did you communicate with Mr. Combs? He texted me in 2024. I don't remember the day. They said, let me show you. He said, I see. And they say nothing further. The judge asked Mr. Agnifilo, there's cross. Of course there is. Agnifilo gets up and says, you grew up in the Bronx. He asked, where did you go to high school? He says, Stuyvesant. Agnifilo says, where did you go to business school? He said, Harvard MBA, 1990. The BMG Music Group, he asked. He said, yes, they own over 100 music labels worldwide. They own Arista, 50% of Bad Boy Records at a certain period of time. Agnifilo asked, could Mr. Combs then do whatever he wanted? Ferguson said, no, there were Arista agreements. Ferguson says, coming from the Bronx, I thought he needed more companies that would hire people from the community. I saw that in Sean Combs. I thought it was a chance to have an impact. Agnifilo says, what was the onboarding? He says, interview. We met some at Arista. I met Benny Medina, some others. Agnifilo asked, so you didn't just meet Mr. Combs and get the job? He says, no. How did Bad Boy change from 1999 to 2012? He said it added other businesses. Records were getting competitive. And I'm going to interject real quick. You see, they brought in, and this is the cross bringing this up, that it wasn't just Sean Combs who hired him. There were other people at the labels who were involved. See, this is him bringing in the fact that Combs wasn't necessarily 100% in charge of everything. All right. So they say, Agnifilo asked, do you remember Notorious LLC? He said it was a magazine called Notorious. And Agnifilo asked, Bad Boy Records was established in 1993. He says, I think it was 1996. Did Bad Boy have connections to Interscope? He said, yes, and UMG Rhino. Who is Andre Harrell? Ferguson said he founded Uptown Records, went to Motown, then back to Bad Boy. Agnifilo asked, what was the spirits business called? He said, eventually it was called Combs Wines and Spirits. I was involved in the start with Diageo. What issues arose with Diageo? The prosecution objects. They're trying to bring in the fact that Diageo and him had that lawsuit, or that he sued Diageo for the racial discrimination or whatever. The prosecution objects strongly. Agnifilo asked, were there differences about how to market? Ferguson says there are always differences of opinion. We had conservations. How do we drive it more? What was the brand everywhere, like competitors? So now the prosecution asked for a sidebar. The judge says, okay. I'm going to come over here. No comments. Okay, let's keep going, child. Were you concerned? Now they're back from the sidebar, and Agnifilo asks, were you concerned that Diageo was marketing Ciroc primarily in certain areas to certain people? Ferguson says, my opinion? He says, on your personal knowledge. He says the distribution was highly concentrated. The question was why. Ferguson says Diageo was marketing it more in urban areas than more broadly. Agnifilo says, okay, what about Revolt? It was owned by Highbridge Capital Management, which was purchased by JP Morgan Chase. And he says, I think so. Agnifilo says, Highbridge has 2 seats. He says, yes, 2 of 5 seats on Revolt. What were you at Revolt? He said, Chief Operating Officer. What did that entail? He said, finance and production. And Sean Combs wasn't in management, right? They say he was not. Let's look at DX 1901 about Combs Enterprises. Let's put up the redacted version. There's a chart shown of chart of executives shown. Agnifilo says, here you have James Cruz and the HR officer at Vashta Wilson, after Vashta Wilson, Andre Harrell, and yourself. He said, this is the team. He asked, what is digital? Ferguson says, and Agnifilo says, your pause says enough. Personal versus business expenses. What's your accounting background? He says, I was a CPA for a time. Where you never saw Combs sitting reviewing his Amex bill? He said, no. When there was a partnership with another company, they would look at the books as well, right? He said, yes. How many high-profile personal assistant? Many high-profile people have personal assistants, right? He said they do. Ignifilo asked, security was a part of the business? He said, yes. Ignifilo asked, security's job was to be in close proximity with Mr. Combs so that no one would do something dangerous to him, right? He said, right. Let's talk about cash. What was the cash receipt from when it is used? Form. What is the cash receipt form when it is used? Ferguson says, for example, touring. Ignifilo asked for a sidebar and the judge says yes. They're back from the sidebar. Ignifilo asked, did you see anyone help Sean Combs commit crimes? He said no. Did you see anyone make the company stronger through coercion? Ferguson says, can you explain that one? What did you mean by coercion? Ignifilo says, fair enough. He don't want to go there. Ignifilo asked, through sexual abuse or trafficking, he asked. Ferguson says no. Okay. Ignifilo says, you were there 19 years. How hard was it? Ferguson says, building from scratch, long hours. Ignifilo asked, did you send Mr. Combs a text message in November 2017? Ferguson said, I don't. Maybe he asked, did you remember? He said, I don't. Ignifilo said, did you tell Mr. Combs you learned so much from him? He said, yes, he pushed the entire team. He had passion. You're a religious man? Prosecution objects, the judge sustains. Prosecution says, you're on the board of his charter school? Ferguson says, yes. So I guess So it says the USA asked, so I'm assuming Ignifilo must have asked this. You're on the board of his charter school? He says, yes. The school tries to work with at-risk children. The U.S. objects. They say 403. The judge sustains and says, let's move on. Ignifilo asks, do you think highly of Mr. Combs? Ferguson says, I don't know how to respond to that. The prosecution asks for a sidebar, and Ignifilo says nothing further. The judge asks if there's a redirect by the government. Of course they do. They ask, was Revolt Films entirely separate from Revolt TV? He says yes. Who was the head of Revolt Films? He says, I don't know. The prosecution asks, did you ever stay in a hotel room with Mr. Combs? He says no. On this chart, who is the chairman? He says, Mr. Sean Combs. And do you see Christina Coram here? He said, yes. Do you see the name Mia? It says development and acquisitions. Nothing further. The judge asks if is there a recross? Ignifilo gets up. You didn't go to his home or hotel because that's his personal life, right? Prosecution objects. The judge sustains. Ignifilo says nothing further. Judge says, jurors, you may go. All rise. So the jurors are dismissed at this point. The prosecution then says, with Jane tomorrow, we want to avoid the type of incident that happened with Mia. So we want the public screens turned off. We want to avoid a situation where accidentally a non-redacted version goes up. The judge says, okay, for Jane's testimony. The prosecution says the new compilation, I understand there is still a defense objection. The judge says, I don't need further argument on that. The prosecution says, I do intend to show Jane some explicit videos. I propose we turn off the attorney's screen so the gallery can't see. Ignifilo says, Mr. Combs is prevented from possessing any of the text messages of Jane. Here's the ask. We need to meet with our client in a place with a desk, with no separation, to go through the text messages. The judge asks, could you do it if you leave now? Ignifilo says, what if we use the courtroom tonight? The judge says there would be marshals here. He said, fine with us. We need to see the text. He can only see them when he is with us. We need more time without a screen between us. It's a Sixth Amendment issue. The prosecution says these text messages were produced in Rule 16 discovery. They've had them for months. We expect the direct of Jane to run Monday to Monday, so they'll have the weekend. The judge says the texts are sensitive. The prosecution says there's nudity. A paralegal could sit with Mr. Combs. Ignifilo says, we just need a solution. The judge says, why does the screen prevent you? Paint a picture for me. Ignifilo says, the screen is thick mesh. We want to see with your client and use a highlighter. They want to see it with their client, okay, and use a highlighter. The judge says there's time in the courthouse, 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and after. For the SCIF, we need a special officer, I'm told. Ignifilo says the courtroom would be better. We don't mind the marshals. The judge says there are marshal service issues. The defense says we still oppose the compilation video. The judge says it would be better if we had the original. And why don't we? The defense says it would have been deleted after 10 days anyway. The judge goes to the side with the U.S. Marshal. And then he says, for today, you can use the courtroom until 6 p.m. I'll try to figure out for the rest of the week. Ignifilo says, I would like more time. The judge says, everyone else get out of the courtroom, as will the court. And they're out. Oh, my goodness. That was a lot. Okay, let me see what the Washington Post had to say about Ferguson. When Derek Ferguson became Sean Combs' chief financial officer in 1998, says Combs was very involved in the company and they spoke regularly. Combs' business expanded into a constellation of companies, ventures, and partnerships during Ferguson's employment, which lasted until 2012. It included Bad Boy Productions, Bad Boy Marketing, and Bad Boy Films, all solely owned by Combs. At times, Ferguson was in charge of his personal finances. Combs always drove the creative marketing and product management of his companies, but in time became more of a chairman than an active manager. Most of his businesses were profitable, and Combs drew simultaneous salaries from several of them. He spent the past hour describing the structure of his sprawling business empire with accounts at multiple banks and a regular cash flow to his various ventures. Ferguson described properties that Combs owned in Miami, New York City, and the Hamptons. He said executives were given American Express cards for expenses, but the business also relied heavily on cash, which many performers requested as payment. Many bodyguards carried cash on them in case Combs needed it. Ferguson testified before the court took a lunch break. It's open seating in the courtroom, overflow courtroom, but this morning the crowd seemed to divide itself into groups. On the right sat journalists with their badges around their necks, while most social media influencers and members of the public chose the left side of the room. 2 people left the overflow room loudly during the morning break, yelling, "Let's go viral." Outbursts have been happening more frequently as the trial goes on. There's also a man in a black cap with the words "Free Puff" in the overflow room, as well as Combs' former bodyguard, Gene Deal, who has attended the trial sporadically. Wow. Let's see. So when they came back from break, it says the prosecution wants to admit in the evidence some communications between Sean Combs and his bodyguard, D-Rock, including some that refer to Cassie Ventura. Now, D-Rock comes up a lot, y'all. I'm going to put a picture of him up here real quick. Let me see. Let me see if I downloaded those pictures. Yeah, I think I did. 1 second. So here's a picture of D-Rock. Let me see if I have a better. This is the D-Rock that's been mentioned throughout this trial. He's the one always running around talking about how he was so close to Biggie Smalls. Here they are together in a picture. And here he is again. Okay. So what they're saying is, in court, it was said in quotes, the text message between D-Rock and between Sean Combs and his bodyguard D-Rock, she wants to ice up, D-Rock told Combs in one message, which prosecutors say relates to Ventura's injuries. In another, the bodyguard wrote, she wants to see you, but you not effing with her. Ventura testified that many women in Combs' circle thought of D-Rock as a friend or ally, but prosecutors allege he was actually funneling information to Combs. Now, I'm curious to know, are they building up to bring D-Rock onto the stand and establishing who he was as far as Combs goes? What's going on, Nia X? Hey, Travis said D-Rock and Biggie grew up together. Yep. Nia's in the building. Nia's in the house. So yeah, this is D-Rock, and they were best friends. I do have some, I went into a little deep dive of him. I think there was a Reddit post about D-Rock, and somebody came in there who was also a good friend from childhood, and he said some things. I might have to do a separate little thing. You know what we're doing now? Me and Love Queen, aka Beautiful Spirit, went live last Sunday night about the previous week's trial and some of the extra stuff going on around the trial. So I think we're just going to probably be doing that every Saturday or Sunday night. And one of those will be a deep dive on D-Rock. So make sure you're subscribed and you tune in. And I'm going to read a little bit more here. Prosecutors are also asking the judge to instruct an organization to remove a social media post that reveals the identity of Mia, the alias for a former Sean Combs associate who was allowed to testify anonymously against him to protect her privacy. Mia claimed Combs assaulted her repeatedly throughout her employment, including allegedly climbing her into her bed and raping her. There's a lot of posts now out with her actual identity on there, so I don't know how they're going to handle that. So they talk about how, Ferguson got back on the stand and talked about how he felt like, Bad Boy was a company that really gave a lot of young executives a lot of opportunity. Someone else did testify. Maybe it was Capricorn Clark, I think, or maybe it was Mia who said that. It might have been Capricorn since she's black, but or at least half black. But it says something like, he gave us opportunities that other media companies weren't giving, or other entertainment companies weren't giving to young black people. And so I guess Ferguson just confirmed that with his testimony. So they say here, Sean Diddy Combs paid $100,000 to obtain what he thought was the only copy of a 2016 video showing him beating girlfriend Cassie Ventura in a hotel hallway. And that's via Eddy Garcia's testimony today. That video supports the government's case that Ventura was forced by Combs to have sex with male escorts as part of freak-offs held at various hotels. The defense has countered that Ventura was a consensual and willing participant of the sex parties. Combs has pleaded not guilty to 5 counts of sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution, and faces up to life in prison if convicted. A number of government witnesses are expected to testify Tuesday. Okay, we did that. Jane, an alias for another alleged sex trafficking victim who used to be romantically involved with Combs, is expected to take the stand later this week. And they said tomorrow. And they said until Monday, which includes the cross. So I did want to show couple things real quick. Okay, let's see.
Because I don't care how many lawyers you have, bro. They're not going to lose this case. And if they do, somebody sabotage this. Because they've already proven the case. They've already proven what they need to prove. That he paid to bring prostitutes across state lines, different states. That's a federal offense. You can't do that. They proved that he used funds from Bad Boy Entertainment to buy drugs. They proved the racketeering with the criminal enterprise. Your enterprise, Bad Boy Entertainment, was doing illegal acts and doing illegal things and paying people for it. And paying employees to do your bidding. They proved that, bro. But they got 5 to 6 more weeks, more evidence. Because I don't care how many you have, bro.
Well, at this point, I believe it's maybe just 2 weeks, maybe this week and next week, the government's cutting everything short, they say. But Gene says they already proved this case. So what do y'all think? Shamina said, Big Gene. What do y'all think about what Gene just said? What do you think about the testimony today? I mean, was that enough? You know, the bribery is there. Prior to that, the extortion was there. I think they also tried to confirm that with the CFO's testimony with the $20,000 between Diddy and Cassie's parents, who they claimed extorted them in order to keep information about their daughter quiet. So there's the bribery, the extortion, the coercion, the brute force, the forced labor. Did I mention the arson and the kidnapping? I don't know if they proved the arson necessarily, but the jury might believe it. Also the kidnapping with Capricorn saying he came with the GUN and made her get in the car and go. And as well with Cassie being dragged back down to that hotel room on video. That's kidnapping as well. It's just people, you know, people crack me up in these comments talking about there's no case, there's no RICO. It's like, what planet are you on? Are you watching the same trial? I want to show y'all a little bit of what happened today to Armand Wiggins' child.
It's a bad bitch birthday, and it was a lot going on. So let me just give you all the tea while we in here. The courtroom is going crazy already. We first get here, they didn't already put somebody out of the court. Okay, now the courtroom erupted early on. It erupted early. It unwrapped today. It unwrapped today. The courtroom. Who are you talking to? You're not talking to me, bitch. I don't know you. You a clout chasing ass bitch. I don't know you. Get your retarded ass away from me. Bye, bitch. I don't know you. So, bitch. Who the fuck are you? Look at this weird ass bitch. Who is this? Bitch, you're a crackhead, bitch. Goodbye. Anyway.
I'm not gonna play that whole thing, but that's just to show. He was like, this is why I don't go live at the courthouse, because some lady is harassing him and chasing after him. But Armand, you know, he's been making a quite an impact, which I want to show actually real quick, at the courthouse, and reaching a lot of people who he hadn't reached previously. So, you know, he is really just growing. Let me show you.
I don't know if y'all watch. I don't know if y'all care. Might I just say shout out to Armand Wiggins, who I think is a better job than CNN on doing commentary for me because covering this Diddy trial is a cumbersome task. Nobody with any brains wants to sit up in the courtroom, but he's doing that for us. And he's also giving commentary that is talking to us, in my opinion, and the way that we talk to each other.
I just wanted to share a couple posts that he actually posted of getting glazed, child. They are glazing your boy out here, which is good for him. He was on TMZ.
Control.
Okay, we are getting dangerously close to being knockoffs of Paula Abdul and Simon Cowell. Let's bring in Armand Wiggins. He has been in that courtroom every day watching this trial. He is a huge YouTube star who has been chronicling everything he has seen and heard with a big audience. And it's a different audience from this one. And getting that perspective, I think, is incredibly useful. So Armand, welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. It's an honor. So I appreciate you guys sharing the platform with me.
So he went on to give a very colorful overview of that day in court. Everybody loved it, including Nancy Grace, who in turn had him on her show, which is amazing. So listen, I'm glazing Armand myself because I got to know him at the Tory Lanez trial. Me and him just got along real good. And he gave, me a lot of good advice, and which I really didn't take. But he's super cool. Like, I just love Armand. So I just wanted to put that out there, that he is taking this thing and running with it, this trial, and he's making his own lane and opportunity here. It's not like somebody's giving him the opportunity. He's making it himself, and they're coming to him. And that's how it works. You know what I'm saying? Hi, Gigi. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna end this here. We're gonna be back tomorrow. We're gonna get the rest of these testimonies that are gonna happen. I'm looking forward to hearing what Jane Doe has to say, even though I really don't want to hear it because it's not things that you look forward to hearing, but it's more so I'm just curious to see what it is that she has to tell us. And I think it's just going to be more of the same of, abuse and brute force and just all around clownery by Sean Combs. So there are some dockets also filed, some documents in the docket, and the defense, seeking to impeach some of Cassie's testimony, and they're asking for all of her communications with the Intercontinental Hotel, because remember, she said she got $10 million. She settled with them for $10 million for selling Sean Combs that video. And they want the paperwork to prove that because they want to impeach her. So I think what they're trying to do is compare whatever communications they get to her testimony in case she's not telling the truth or if there's something that she's not telling. But the government is fighting against that. Cassie done had her baby, and that lawyer is out of the country, they say. So they don't want nothing else to do with this. They did their job here, and that should be that, right? So with that being said, I will see y'all back here tomorrow. And like I said, check out this past weekend's lives if you missed them. Till then, bye.